Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Hart, and today I'll be breaking down the 10-game NBA slates we have here on DraftKings for Wednesday night. If you're new to the channel, my name is Hart. I'll be breaking down the game by going over my top spin-up plays, some mid-range options we can look at, and some value plays for tomorrow's slate. Obviously, with injury news, the core plays in the slate will change. We'll just have to keep updated with injury news because there's going to be a ton for tomorrow's 10-game slate. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, turn that notification bell, and I'll get into the slates breakdown. Before we get into the breakdown, I just want to do a quick little recap of my lineup. We still have that Brooklyn and Sacramento game going on. Super salty because that game's a huge blowout right now, and Royce O'Neal is doing absolutely nothing. As you can see, I'm in the top 180. My lineup was doing great, and now it's starting to fall off just because of Royce O'Neal and Malik Monk not doing anything. So it's super frustrating, but the past 2 days, my lineup's actually been doing very, very well. I cashed in both the NFL Showdown slate and the NBA slate. Top 10%, top 1% for both of those, which is frustrating because I played super light yesterday and today because I just didn't feel good about the slates. Was pretty busy with some other stuff outside of DFS, so played super light. So obviously the cash is not going to be that great, which is a little bit frustrating because it's of course, it's the days where you play light that you don't end up winning a ton of money because you're in such small contests and not the normal big ones. But a win's a win. As I said, you always want to stack those up, continue that process, going forward because you don't want to get down on those losses or you don't want to get down on those wins. You want to continue them forward. I'm just rambling at this point, but with Brunson, McCollum, Brooks, Herb Jones, Larry Nance, Ja, O'Neal, and Monk. Obviously, Brunson liked the buyback opportunity there. CJ looked great. Not sure why he wasn't a little bit more owned. Dylan Brooks, just remind me to never roster him again. He's just super frustrating and annoying. Herb got in huge foul trouble, so he missed a ton of minutes in that first half. Larry Nance got a little bit lucky there with the foul trouble, but really wanted to ride that hot streak with Larry Nance, especially with how they closed with him once again. He did fantastic. Ja was obviously Ja, and then Royce O'Neal and Malik Monk are destroying my lineup. Moving on to the slates breakdown. We got a Big Ten gamer starting off with Indiana and Charlotte. Indiana side, Halliburton is questionable, looking like he should be, maybe might not be able to suit up. That's obviously big news. So let's just say, for right now, let's just say he can't go. If he can't go, you look into the guards to step up. You're going to have Nembhard priced at 4,100. He's already seen 20 plus minutes. He'd be a very, very solid value play, one of the best plays on the slates in terms of guards. I would assume TJ McConnell, who's been seeing about 15 and 20 minutes, he should see at least 20, maybe closer to 25. It will be interesting to see who they start. But yeah, both very solid point per minute guys. Wouldn't mind, I'd really like into one of them, or maybe even two of them, depending on that Halliburton news. Obviously, if Halliburton's in, he looks very solid at 9,300. Miles Turner still looks really good at 6,900. Great matchup here going against Charlotte for the bigs. 3 straight games, a very solid game. So yeah, I really like him. Prices come up, but he looks very good. Just really hope he stays out of foul trouble. Buddy Hield 6,800, just kind of there for me. Priced up to that point where it's like I don't really feel great about playing him. Obviously does have a decent ceiling, but just a little too scoring dependent for me. Benedict Mathurin, just kind of a tournament play there, coming off the bench. He's really only seen 30 minutes at most. So not enough for me to really feel great about playing him. Obviously a good matchup going against those secondary Charlotte guys, a good score, but it's just hard with the minutes to get to him with confidence. I like Jalen Smith a good amount. Saw 25 minutes, almost got you that double-double, obviously, 16 and 5. It just, comes down to minutes for Jalen Smith. If he's going to get you, 25, closer to 30, he looks fantastic at 5K, but those minutes have been all over the place the past 4 or 5 games. So it's very risky going to him, but obviously a great price tag. So it's just kind of that risk reward. I mentioned Nembhard and TJ McConnell. Isaiah Jackson, one of those guys, you could take a dart throw on him, 3,900 to solid price to take a dart throw on. Should see at least 15 minutes. And if guys like Miles Turner get in foul trouble, his minutes should go up. Very, very productive in a small amount of time. So you could always look to him. Neesmith, maybe he gets a few more minutes. Should see, I'd say about 20, but that's really it. Just really prefer getting to those 2 guards and maybe, Turner. If Halliburton's out, if Halliburton's in, I'd say really just stick to Turner, Halliburton, and then maybe taking a shot on Jalen Smith. On to Charlotte. We have LaMelo Ball officially back, officially seen 30-plus minutes. He saw 34 in that Orlando spot. He's seen over a 31% usage rate in the first 2 games being back. Obviously, the leader of this team. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. Past 2 games, 6-17, 6-19, 4-15 from 3, which is wild. 15 shots from 3, only hits 4. But yeah, he's a very, very high usage guy. Should go out there and chuck the ball. Still going to get you a ton of assists and rebounds. Pretty solid at steals as well. So really, the price, it hasn't really moved. Not the best, but I do really like him. Should continue to have that usage. So I think he looks very, very solid there. 8,900 is a good spend up play. Rozier, just a little too pricier for me alongside LaMelo. Oubre, okay, not loving that price tag on him. Dennis Smith Jr. is doubtful once again. Plumlee, his price is coming up, coming off another huge game, 5,900 going against Miles Turner. Looks okay. I just really don't think I'd get any interest in these guys. As I said, you could take a shot on PJ Washington. Actually ended up working that last game, 14, 6, and 5. He came out, really, really hot in that first quarter and really cooled off. So really not much interest in this, Charlotte side besides LaMelo at the top. Jalen McDaniels' minutes are kind of all over the place. An okay value play there. You can always take a shot on Nick Richards, 3,700. Should see at least 15 minutes, usually closer to 20 at times. He's pretty productive when he's in there. And you kind of just, if you play him, you really hope for Plumlee to get in foul trouble. And that's really it. Theo's done well off the bench the past 2 games, but I really don't trust that. It's really just LaMelo at the top for me. Moving on to Minnesota. Towns at 9-1 looks okay. Going up against a big front court for the Magic. Wendell, very solid defender. Bol is obviously a decent defender. Towns looks okay for me at 7,500 or 9,100. Prefer getting Anthony Edwards. He's very up and down this season. Same with just the whole team of Minnesota. His minutes are secure. The shot attempts are usually secure. Decent in peripheral stats. It just comes down to if he's hitting the shot. Looking to get involved. He was great for us against Memphis. Didn't do anything against Cleveland. Thankfully, I didn't play him there. But yeah, he's very all over the place. 7,500 is a great price tag if you want to take a shot on him. Gobert, I guess, is just a decent play there. He has actually flashed a decent upside this season. Really haven't seen it the past, 6, 7, 8 games, but you can always take that shot there at 7,000. D'Lo had a good game last game. He's just once in a blue moon, 11 of 13. Don't really trust that. I mean, look at the games before. 6,200 is a decent price tag. I don't mind going to him, but, you really can't expect him to go for 45, 50 plus fantasy points unless he's having a fantastic game, which I don't think he's going to throw up 2 back-to-back those games. McDaniels, like the other McDaniels, going to see the minutes. Sometimes they're all over the place. They can produce, but they're very sporadic. So at their price tags are not the best value options. Anderson, seen about 20 minutes. He looks like a better option to me if you're looking for some value. Torian Prince, a little too score independent. Seeing the minutes, just really needs to hit a shot. Otherwise, he's going to screw you. I think Naz Reid should be fine. He should maybe see 15-ish minutes. Another guy you could take a dart throw on. Hope one of those bigs gets in foul trouble. He's very foul prone as well. And then, 15-ish for minutes for Forbes and McLaughlin. So not a ton of interest on that Minnesota side. Orlando side, Paolo still not practicing. Looks like he might not be able to go. Wendell is now questionable. So there's a lot going on here for this Orlando side. Maybe we get a ton of value plays, but let's just assume for some reason they're both out. Franz would actually, be a great play at 7,000. More of that point forward. Bol would be too cheap here at 6,300. I don't think he'd take a huge usage increase, but he'd just be very solid there at 6,300. Obviously, he has a huge ceiling with those blocks. Suggs' usage would probably skyrocket, so he'd be very solid there at 5,700. Same thing with Chuma. He's gotten 30-plus minutes past 3 games with Paolo out. Not the best point per minute guy, kind of all over the board, but 5,300. There should be more shots for him to go around. All these guys are still out, so then you'd see Mo Bamba. Maybe he'd slide in the starting lineup. Had a huge game last game. I talked about him. Had him in my lineup and switched off of him, but yeah, he'd have a huge bump. T. Ross would get more involved. Same with these guards. So we really just have to wait and see. If Wendell is out, obviously that's huge news. Moving on to OKC in Washington. SGA price really hasn't moved once again, and he's fantastic. Probably the most consistent player this year so far. I mean, just look at his box score. I'm scared because I feel like one of these games, he's going to have kind of that Toronto game where he goes out there and gets you like 35 fantasy points, which is not going to kill you, but 9,400, the price tag really hasn't moved. Looks like a fantastic play once again. An absolute beast. So love SGA here versus Washington. Gady looks very solid. Price hasn't moved that much. Didn't shoot the best, but is great at peripheral stats. So do like taking a shot on him as well. You can play them alongside each other. Poku had a great game. I don't mind running back here with him. Price really hasn't moved. Baisley is still out. Poku's minutes are, very iffy at times. If he's not playing well or he gets in foul trouble, you could see low teens, or I guess high teens, low 20s minutes. But I do like all three of the OKC players. Lu Dort's a decent play at 5,000. He will shoot the ball a ton. Just, really needs to hit his shots. And, the rest of the team, you can take shots on guys like Jalen Williams, played 36 minutes, shot the ball well, only got you 27 fantasy points. Not going to be heavily involved. JRE only saw 14 minutes. Wiggins saw 14. So not a ton of interest for any of these value guys on OKC side as of right now. Really just prefer those three guys at the top. And that's really it. Moving on to Washington. For Washington, Porzingis, I think he's a little bit too cheap here. Going against Poku defense, I mean, that should be easy for Porzingis. It's kind of like a little mini-me version of himself he's going against. So love Porzingis. 2 back-to-back great games from him. So like him again. Price hasn't moved. He looks great. Even with Beal back, I still like Porzingis a good amount. Beal just really hasn't been the Beal of old, where he'd, command such a ton of usage and, be very, very good. I mean, he's been very efficient and great this year. Just in terms of fantasy, hasn't been that great. Kuzma with Beal back, not much interest in him. Morris, I guess, is a tournament play. It would be a decent play, but good when we lose out on minutes. Yeah, with Beal back, really takes my interest out of a lot of these guys. Denny's been doing solid the past few games, but a lot of the usage will flow back to Beal. So, I mean, you can always take that shot on Barton off the bench, kind of that scoring guard, 4,200. Otherwise, I really don't have much interest. Kispert will see some minutes, but scoring dependent, 3,600 is not a bad price for him. Gafford, you really need Porzingis foul trouble for him to play and pay off. But it's really just Porzingis, and if you want to take that really low-owned tournament play on Beal, you can. Miami and Toronto. Jimmy at 9,000. Hero is, looks like didn't travel the team. Once again, out. So Jimmy doing a lot more with Hero out. He looks okay to spend up. Not my favorite, just because he's not the best scorer. Bam is questionable. Left knee contusion. As I said, this slate's going to be insane with injury news, so we'll have to just stay updated throughout the day tomorrow with my core plays. But Bam, 8,200. Let's just assume he's in for now. It makes things simpler. Lowry looks decent at this price. There's a ton of usage to go around with Tyler Hero out. Jimmy's shouldering most of the load. Strus, 40 minutes, 19, 38, 45, 36, 13. As you can see, he is very a boom or bust. I don't mind getting to him here at 5,900. Not the best price tag, but should step up. I think Gabe Vincent would be my favorite play on this Miami side. Minutes were a little down against Phoenix. Not sure why, but he should see at least, I'd say 30 with Hero being out. Should shoulder a little bit more of the load, coming off the bench as that kind of scoring first guard. Always can take a shot on, Duncan Robinson, but it's really just Gabe Vincent for me. We'll have to wait on that news from Bam. Toronto side, we got Fred VanVleet is questionable. It looks like he should be able to go. We'll have to see about that. This game's in Toronto. Toronto plays really good at home. They're really bad on the road right now, so I do have a good amount of interest in VanVleet, even in this slow matchup. Scotty Barnes has just been brutal. Even when, VanVleet's been out the past 2 games, 31 and 22. He's just not playing well. Really don't like that price tag for a guy who's been, playing that bad, because he's not one of those guys who's going to go out there and shoot a ton. He's not like he's a great shooter and scorer. So I'd really only have interest in OG there. Boucher is getting priced up now. He's been great the past 2 times off the bench. Gary Trent is questionable. He missed the last game. If he's good to go, I think he'd maybe be my favorite play there. Banton could get the start again. He was fantastic last game. Thad Young, prices come up. Not the best value anymore at 4,800. Flynn, he saw 15 minutes. He was very productive. So yeah, Otto Porter Jr.'s out. So there's a bunch of news. Hernan Gomez saw minutes. The minutes were just all over the place for these guys. Doughton got in the game. Birch saw 4 minutes. So yeah, I mean, we have to wait in the news. There's just too much to really go over. It'd just be like a 10-minute breakdown of who to look for. I'm moving on to Boston, Atlanta. Tatum price is just a little bit out of the range for me, but he's been very, very solid this year. Even in his bad games, it seems like he's still getting to 45 fantasy points. So if you want to go for a safe play, you could look to him. Jaylen Brown, just a little bit more appealing. Sometimes he doesn't do the best when it comes to peripherals, but the past 2 games he's been rock solid. But 8,700, you really just need him to have a huge scoring game. Otherwise, I just don't like the price tag on him. I'd prefer to get to a guard like LaMelo, who's a little bit pricier, but he does have a way bigger ceiling. Smart is questionable. It looks like he's good to go, so we don't have to worry about news on this Boston side. Horford, I do think he's still in play. Once again, had a very solid game. Talked about him last slate. Grant Williams just there at 5,200. It's really just, Brown, more of a tournament option. Tatum's more of that safe play. Smart, more of a tournament option. And Horford, I think he makes for a good tournament or cash option. Atlanta side, Trae Young, price is coming down a bit. Hasn't shot the ball well at all. So I do like him a good amount here against Boston. DeJounte Murray, same thing. Do have a good amount of interest in both those guards. I like Clint Capella a good amount. He's been great the past, 2 weeks, which, he started off the season terrible, and he's really stepped it up the past few weeks. So I do like him here. Should have that, big double-double upside in this game. Boston shoots the 3 a ton, shoots a ton of jump shots, so it should be a good amount of rebound ending opportunities for Capella. Collins, once again, is just that X factor. He's been just horrendous the past few weeks, but he's always, worth a look in a tournament play if you're in that 5K range. I want to go out of my way to play him. Same thing with Hunter, worth a look at times, but really no interest there. Okongwu, do have a good amount of interest there, decent point per minute guy. Maybe Capella gets in foul trouble, means more minutes for Okongwu. Jalen seen about 15. Aaron should see about 15, and then Justin seen about 15. So yeah, really no interest besides the starters for Atlanta. Chicago and the Pelicans. Pelicans are coming off a back-to-back. DeRozan, price is creeping down to that point that I do like a good amount here. Obviously, he's very, very scoring dependent, but he's always super low owns. Same with Zach LaVine. So I do like going to one of these 2 guys. I prefer getting Zach a little bit cheaper. I just kind of expect the Bulls to kind of start picking it up here in terms of at least Zach. I know coming back from that knee injury in the summer, starting to get in the flow of things. So I do like him a good amount. I think Vooch is almost a little too cheap. He is losing some usage to guys like Zach and DeMar playing alongside them, but he does have a very solid floor and a pretty high ceiling if he's hitting the shots. So at 7,300, I do like him a good amount. Kind of got babied by Valanciunas last time they played. So I do think he'll look for a little bit of a revenge game there. And not much interest in any of these guards. You can look to Io if you want. Same thing with Pat Williams, but I think the only interest I have is on maybe Drummond. Should see at least 15 minutes off the bench. He's a very solid point per minute guy. Dragic, he's been very aggressive, 3,800. He looks like a great value play. Kobe White is questionable. Maybe he's back. If it does, kind of takes a little bit of interest out of guys like Io, like a Caruso. But I think Dragic should still be fine. On the Pelicans side, we got Zion. Didn't play tonight. 8,900, not my favorite price tag on him. Obviously, he does have a little bit of a ceiling. Brandon Ingram, just looks there. Prefer getting to CJ once again. He had a great night tonight. I think he went for 30 real-life points, like 56 fantasy points as we saw. 51. So he looks very solid. And as you can see, my lineup is just tanking. Now we're in the 363 range. Super, super frustrating. J-Val, I don't mind going to him. He's losing a ton of minutes, lost a ton of minutes tonight due to foul trouble. He kind of owned Vooch in that game on the 9th, 44 fantasy points in only 30 minutes. But the big red flag with J-Val is just he's losing a ton of minutes due to foul trouble and because Larry Nance has been just a way better closer than him. So it's just a super, super risky tournament play. I think his ownership should be low because of that, but yeah, it's super risky. Herb Jones, decent value play if Zion's out. If he's in, I really don't have much interest in these guys. You always take a shot on Trey Murphy. He's a decent scorer. decent shooter, but otherwise Alvarado is just kind of there. He can pay off, but yeah, not much interest besides the main three. Maybe take that tournament dart throw on Vooch or J-Val, excuse me. Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell is questionable. If he's out once again, Darius Garland looks okay. Now the price is up to $9K, 51 real life points, 70 fantasy points. I think Drew Holiday might be back as well, so I don't have a ton of interest in Garland. I think it's just an okay price for him. Allen is out, so that should be more minutes for, I think they'll slide in Kevin Love and Mobley into the starting lineup. So Mobley looks decent, 6,200. Karis LeVert, 6,100. I think he looks a decent play if Donovan Mitchell's out. Obviously, if Donovan Mitchell's in, I really only have interest in Kevin Love, 5,600. Played 29 minutes against Minnesota. That game was kind of a blowout in quarters 2 and 3. They did come back towards the end. So he did lose a few minutes. Shot 3 of 11, so he wasn't the best, but still got you 27 fantasy points. He'd be a great play there at 5,600 because Jared Allen's out. So just going to throw them in there for right now. Dean Wade is questionable. It looks like he's doubtful. So we'll get, Dusty, Sadie Osman. I think at 28 minutes, that last game, we should see at least 25 out of him. He looks like a great value play. We'll just throw him in there for now. Lamar Stevens should see, 25, 30 minutes. He looks like a decent value play as well. Robin Lopez might get dusted off, 16 minutes. Maybe he sees closer to 20. It's really just interest in, Love, Sadie, and maybe a Lamar Stevens if you want some value plays on that Cleveland side. For Milwaukee, Giannis, 12.6. I guess with all the value, you could definitely get up to these guys in the 11, 12K range. I don't know if it's necessary, but you could definitely do that. Drew Holiday, it looks like he should be back. Still questionable, but I think he should be a good go. With him back, in Bobby Portis priced up. Really not a much interest in, this side. Maybe take that shot on Brook Lopez, but he's starting to come down in terms of output. Takes these other guys out of play for me. Connaughton might be back, so that takes out a Beauchamp. That takes out Javon Carter. Really when they have Giannis and Drew Holiday, they soak up all the usage. And then Brook Lopez is decent in usage. And then, Bobby Portis off the bench. That's really it. Not many of those peripheral guys on the Bucks side get, ton of usage. Really don't think you have to force them in there. Houston, KVJ looks solid, 7,400. Sengun looks decent, 6,800. I just think they're very fair price tags for all of these Rockets. Maybe I prefer Jalen Green. 4 straight, solid games from him. But he is, scoring dependent, so he could definitely go out there and shoot 3 of 19. But I think he'd be my favorite play. Jamari Smith is just kind of contrarian play there. Very up and down. Price tag looks decent, but prefer getting to the main 3 guys. KJ Martin looks like a solid value play. Seen about 20 plus minutes the past, week and a half. Eric Gordon minutes are, slowly starting to decline. Same with the usage. So I do think at some point he'll get run out of the rotation. So I really want to go there. I mean, he could have a decent shooting game, but I think it seems a little bit too forced for me. Tari Eason, minutes should be 15 to that 20 range. He's pretty productive. Don't hate it. Bruno might be back. Garuba, really not much interest besides the main 3 for me. On the Dow side, Luka, just too pricey to get to once again. Maybe with all the usage or with all the value you could get up to him, but I just think it's too pricey for me to get to those guys right now. We'll have to wait on that news. Dinwiddie priced up to that point where it's like, don't really want to play him at that spot, but he's been great the past week. I think Wood would be my favorite play. A little bit of a revenge game narrative. He's all over the place with his minutes. He doesn't close, but 6,400, he's coming down to that price tag where, as we saw at the beginning of the season, he does have a pretty high ceiling. And I love this matchup going against, that Houston team. I think, it's a very, very solid play there for Christian Wood going against that revenge game narrative of Houston. Otherwise, really no interest in these guys like Powell, Finney-Smith, Bullock. They've been all brutal this year. I mean, they're playing minutes, but they've just been god-awful. Josh Green minutes are ticking up. As I said, the past, 5 slates. Hardaway Jr. is my only, the only play I like on the Dallas side besides the main 3 guys. Moving on to the Knicks and Denver. Knicks are coming off a back-to-back. They played tonight. Randall looks decent. Jokic is out, so that changes a ton on the Denver side. Brunson, I think his price looks great. He had a great game tonight. RJ looks solid. Hartenstein got in a ton of foul trouble tonight, so you can definitely look to him with Jokic out. He should stay out of foul trouble. Obi had a solid night tonight. Same thing with Reddish. Sims had a great night. He's always in play. Mitchell Robinson he might be back. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. He was, questionable for tonight, didn't play, so maybe he's back. That would take out guys like Hartenstein and Sims. Hartenstein would be more of a contrarian play off the bench. He was pretty productive in that role, but really just my interest kind of focuses on Brunson and Barrett. On the Denver side, as I said, Jokic is out, so that changes everything. He wasn't shooting the ball a ton this year, but with him out, Murray looks fantastic. Porter looks fantastic. Aaron Gordon's questionable. I feel like he should be good to go. He looks great as well. These three are really going to shoulder the load offensively. I think Bruce Brown makes for a very solid play as well. He should be more involved. He's been great the past 2 games. So I really like this whole Denver team. KCP is a decent shooter, but I really prefer getting into the main 4 guys on Denver. Jeff Green or DeAndre Jordan. I'm assuming they'd probably start with DeAndre Jordan. Jeff Green would still come off the bench, but I think he'd get more run, maybe closer to 25. He looks like a great value play. They could definitely dust off Zeke Naji. He's a good 3-point shooter. Maybe he gets 15 to 20 minutes. I'd have interest in him. He looks very, very solid there at, minimum price, $3,000. I think he'd be the candidate to get a ton of run. Maybe they could dust off, Konkar. We'll have to see what the starting lineup's like, but yeah, all the value, really good value is going to come from this Denver side because all these guys are already priced way too cheap, and with, Jokic out, I think they make for all fantastic plays. Golden State and Phoenix. Steph Curry, 10-5, solid spend-up play. Andrew Wiggins looks decent there. Been having a few good games. The last game wasn't the best. Klay Thompson was out, so Jordan Poole obviously had a fantastic game. With Klay back, really my only interest is in, Draymond's going on more of that tournament play. I think my only interest is in Steph and Klay. Take that shot on Klay. That's really it. Not much interest in anyone else. Lamb has been getting minutes off the bench. 24 in that last game against the Spurs. That was a blowout. So yeah, just not a lot of interest in this Golden State team besides the main 2 for me. On the Phoenix side, the big news is Chris Paul. If he's out, Booker looks, very solid there at 9,200. If he's in, Booker just more of a contrarian play. Paul would be more of a contrarian play for me. Payne would be priced up too high. Bridges would be the okay play there at 6,300. Do you have a good amount of interest in Ayton? I think that feels like he's a little too cheap there at 6,100. Now, he's a guy who's not going to go out there and shoot the ball a ton, but he can definitely go up there and, put up a 20-10 game, 20 and 15 game, depending on how Golden State's shooting. So he does have a, pretty decent ceiling, especially at 6,100. So I don't hate that for him. Torrey Craig, an okay value play. I'll mention Dwayne Washington Jr. came off the bench and put up 21 real-life points in 19 minutes, which I think it's a little bit of an outlier there. Yeah, just not a ton of interest on Phoenix unless Chris Paul's out. And as I kind of mentioned, there's going to be a ton of news kind of affecting the slate. So I would assume all these core plays will most likely change midday. But yeah, I really like Jamal. Really like this whole Denver team. I do think it allows for you to pay up for stars. So let's just do that. I really like SGA. And we'll go with LaMelo. I think right now this is kind of my core. Jamal Murray, way too cheap there. Sadie, that nice value play off the bench for Cleveland. SGA has been fantastic this year. Porter Jr. should shoulder more of the load. And then LaMelo Ball looks great there. Once again, if you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.